right now, the health, weight loss, helping obesity be combated, that's a growing industry. It's a highly competitive industry. It's sometimes a little bit sleazy of an industry as well. What do you feel as a franchise owner has allowed Nuviva to differentiate themselves from the rest of the other franchises or pop-up businesses or stuff that's out there right now?
I'd say honestly, compassion and empathy. If you look at the reviews, if you just have the opportunity of going on Google and reading about what our clinics do, and you read and understand the basically the passion of our patients after they've come and seen us. And exactly what you said before, we're not cookie cutter. We're not one of those clinics that just throws things at individuals and throws medications at them and wishes them luck. There's consistent coaching on a regular basis. Okay, all of our coaches are certified nutrition coaches, which is phenomenal because they gain that education not only from their schooling, originally in college and so forth, but the opportunity to gain even more knowledge when working with Nuviva. So in all honesty, it's that compassion. And it's one of those things as a proud parent, when you start reading the reviews and you're seeing how, employees have worked with you for 6 to 8 years, and all of a sudden you see these different segments or reviews and talking about how much they've helped somebody. And sometimes it's, how do I say this? This is my baby, right? This is something that I've grown. I've been working with for 12 years. And all of a sudden, my name is not the one that's mentioned anymore. But it's being, again, as a pride, it's that legacy that we're kind of leaving and understanding at any point in time. I can walk into an office, I can walk into a room, and I get that same feeling. It automatically comes back from the very beginning.
And so the allure of a lot of franchise purchases is I can just buy it, throw people in place, and I don't have to worry too much. Now, Nuviva requires a little bit more hands-on because it, like you mentioned, it's not a buy our supplements, buy the medications and catch you later. It requires weekly visits with all your clients. So it's a lot more hands-on. What is your advice to someone who's looking into investing into a franchise for Nuviva? What stuff do they have to expect in order to receive the results that they want? And also, is there any sort of examples of somebody where you're like, hey, if this is what you're after, maybe Nuviva is not the right fit for you?
Let me give you a story of, how the Melbourne Clinic came about. Melbourne Clinic is owned by two absolutely incredible individuals, and they originally were patients of mine. They went through the program, as a couple, and they understood the protocols in which we had in place. They came to me afterwards, and they both had different companies at the time, and they asked me, like, how do I get involved in this? This is something I know I finally want to do, because I want to feel like I'm giving something back, if you will. And keep in mind, they opened right during the time that we don't really talk about, which is the scariest time the scariest time to open a medical practice. At that point in time, their first year within that realm was scary because all of us, we didn't know where we were going at that point, and we knew what we could offer, but we didn't because that's what's great about Nuviva. We're not just weight loss. We're wellness. We're a segment that teaches individuals to better their lives, but most importantly, gives them the tools to become healthier individuals, right? So within that first year, that struggle and education, but what they did is they never stopped because they said, during this time, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. So when things pick up, I'm going to be more knowledge-based, have more knowledge base than anybody else in the market. And at this point in time, they're one of the highest grossing clinics in our entire company because of the passion in which they have behind it. But most importantly, they believed in what we were doing. If somebody just gets involved in a business and they don't believe in it because there's nothing behind it and they're just there to make money, it is different. This is an industry where in turn you have to care and want to be part of a group and an understanding that you want to actually help people. Now, keep in mind, we do have business owners who are very successful in what they do and they have the financial means to open a Nuviva. But what they do is they understand how to hire those individuals to stay in their lanes. They hire great people to manage their practices. And in turn, those people become part of our family. So we wish, at this point, I wish there were more Nuvivas. I wish there was an opportunity for more people to open them. But I think what you're saying as well, people are nervous. People are scared to go down that rabbit hole. They see something easier or something on social media and so forth. And they don't realize if you just put in a small amount of work and then that work gets easier and easier because it becomes obviously the passion of what you're doing. Because what do they say, right? You work on a consistent basis. If you enjoy what you're doing, is it really work? Like going back to what you do. You told me, you and I had a conversation on how you moved here from Australia. And I go, why did you decide to do this here? And you talked about the demographics and the different people and the passion which you had behind it because people believe in that here. Okay. And that's what you enjoy doing, right? You're good at it. You enjoy it. So I think as long as somebody has a passion for what they're doing, it's no longer work. And I don't look at it as work. I love going into the clinic. I love seeing patients. And that's what's great about our employees. They can't wait to tell me a story of how they've changed somebody's life.
When it comes to franchises, particularly in America, there's no shortage of franchise opportunities, from your Chick-Fil-A's through to Subways, through to now Nuvivas as well. If I'm looking for something as an investment, as a franchise owner, what would be the reasons I would choose Nuviva, not only just as a store or a franchise operation, but just the industry in general? Why would I choose this over the other options that there are out there?
Well, let's look at this segment. You brought up Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A, in turn, and how they choose their franchisees, it's not one of those things you can just buy into. It's an opportunity where you work for the store, and they actually give you an opportunity to work in a lower grossing store. And your job is to bust your butt and prove to that organization that you can make things work anywhere. And that's how you've earned your franchise. So with Nuviva and so forth, and exactly what you said, why this industry? This industry is consistently changing and evolving. And as you can see, in America, we don't have a shortage of individuals who need to lose weight. But here's what's great about Nuviva, and the reason why we've chosen this. As I said before, it's a multi-phase nutritional program. So through that segment, you're altering people's behaviors without even realizing you're doing it. So keep in mind, we're not psychologists, we're not therapists, but deep down, a lot of this comes from what's going on in individuals' lives. And by coming in and speaking to a coach on a weekly basis and working through their diet and evaluating and shifting small parts of their lives, they don't realize how the benefits on how things get better and better and better. So what you're asking the question, why involve yourself in Nuviva? Because the great thing about what we're doing is we're consistently evolving with who we are and what this world is, offering. During, again, you have a name for it. During 2020, most businesses had a difficult time and they were failing, and a lot of them closed their doors. We adjusted our playing field and focused on the wellness aspect of what we do. And by doing that, we had phenomenal years because people understood that health is finally something very important for them to look into. Okay. I mean, even myself have gone through a couple of the health scares over the last couple of years. And if I didn't have the knowledge base and the background, but most importantly, how do I say this? Like my teams behind me, who knows what would have happened in my own life, right? So, I mean, that's the one thing is if you want to get involved in an industry where every single day you go home and you feel as if you've actually accomplished something, that's the biggest reason why to pick Nuviva, in all honesty, is pick something of this nature.
It also seems like this is a highly referred business, meaning like you mentioned, a lot of people now are becoming overweight because of the diet, the environment that we're in, that it's definitely a growing concern, but people are wanting to change. It seems like as well, because this is an industry fraught with bad actors or fads or stuff that, again, is like purchase this, but then no support. So people don't actually make a life-changing, ongoing change. There's a lot of, I guess, bad blood in this industry. Whereas it seems like because of your structure of ongoing weekly meetings mixed in with the knowledge, mixed in with the education, that people generally are going to be referring a lot of their friends and family, because once they start feeling the benefits, they start feeling the life change, they're going to want to tell people like, hey, you need to do this as well, because most overweight people have overweight friends because we hang out with people that are similar to us. That it seems like a very strong referral based thing, which again, word of mouth is the most powerful marketing tool there is.
So I 100% don't disagree with that. The crazy part about society now is they're trying to do whatever they can to make people feel comfortable in their own skin, right? But that's why we look at this as not just, and again, we don't ever say Nuviva. Yes, we are Nuviva Medical Weight Loss, but we're not just a diet. We're considered a new life. That's what we're trying to do, is shift that, right? So people are looking at health, and that's what comes along with what we're doing. So say a patient walks in the door and on a regular, and they're like, I'm so focused on the weight. I'm focused on the scale. I'm focused on this. I'm focused on that. And the question is, I go, listen, if you look the way you wanted to, so you had health, okay, the way you look, your clothes are fitting fantastic, and everything else in your life is phenomenal, does that weight really mean anything? So the whole concept is giving these education individuals just about being healthier. And if we can give that to them, the byproduct of that is losing weight, right? So it doesn't mean you don't have to feel comfortable with who you are. It's most importantly, are we the healthiest version of who we're supposed to be, okay? Because you can have a person who weighs a good amount, but in turn, they're not the most healthy person. Or in turn, you have somebody who's extremely athletic, who has extreme amounts of muscle mass. And at that point in time, they weigh exactly the same amount, but which one is healthier?
Yeah.
So that's what you have to look at, is just feeling comfortable in your own skin. I understand, and we all understand. But the most important part is that the underlinking of everything. If you're a parent, if you're a person who people look up to, and a lot of individuals in their own families, they're the ones that their family looks up to. Maybe the first ones who ever went to college and things of that nature. But if you're setting a positive example for your family, you have no idea how strong that is for future generations.
For people that are looking at potentially investing in Nuviva, getting a franchise, how do you guys look at where you determine the next location would be that would be beneficial for a business owner?
We have a database that we look through, and we have a lot of algorithms and so on that allow us to choose the best locations for weight loss and so on. But the great thing about what we're looking at is it all depends. Like if you look at where our Nuvivas are located, not all of them are in big cities. Okay, so you have the opportunity of maybe opening a Nuviva in a smaller area, in a rural area where there's not as much competition. So keep in mind, people are so segmented and focused on those large, big cities. Like you have your Tampa, you have Orlando, you have so forth, and then you have Miami and you have Boca. But what they don't realize is you're fighting against every other clinic out there that might not be doing a great job. Okay, as you said before, there's a lot of competition for what we do, and that's why we hold strong and do whatever we can to show people that we are actually very, very good at what we do. Okay. You look at our statistics, and I'll kind of give you an example. We have a lot of externs. When I used to work I worked with the largest physician group in Central Florida. And part of that, I was able to work side by side by a lot of doctors. And then their externs would come in, and doctors doing their fellowships and so forth. And they were all intrigued by what we did. So they would actually go through our patients, and they'd reach out to them years later. Okay, so keep in mind, studies comparative to Weight Watchers and so forth, and years later. And they realized and came back, and this is what's great, is I've had, these physicians now to this day still call me, and they're like, this is incredible industry, has never stopped shifting and changing. And them being in their family practices now, they have a better understanding of how to help people, because what they did is that research showed 85 to 90% of our patients with Nuviva were maintaining their weight, because we're giving them something like what you said. You have the weekly check-ins, you have the accountability, you have the most important parts about shifting and changing something before it becomes a natural habit. And that's what's so great about this industry. But again, you're competing with all these people who throw drugs at you and give the patients whatever they think they want because it's a short-term gain. And then what happens? They gain all their weight back, and they don't realize how negative that is for their body in the long run. So the best part about doing this and being involved in a franchise like this is because we're consistently working on maintaining weight. There's enough people out there to forward us business. We don't need to focus only on the patients coming back, but we understand major life changes, patients come back. All of us have gone through things in our lives, and the great thing about it is, yes, they focus on food more than something else, or somebody went through a surgery, or somebody got in a car accident. There's reasons why people gain weight. And the great thing is because they know they can always come back, because we're a family and we take care of our own.
Yeah, that was one thing that Jeff mentioned recently in conversation, was that seems to be a lot of people that have tried other places, gone to different venues or tried online things, but it seems like the ones that once they come here, they'll stay. And yeah, if they have like a relapse a year or two later, for whatever reason, like you mentioned, they come back here, they don't then go try something else.
Agreed. And the thing is making them feel welcome. Keep in mind, somebody loses 100 pounds and they gain some weight back, they might be embarrassed. Okay. And we found that out when we first started, is because people didn't really understand us yet, because we were brand new. And then when they got to know us more and more, they're like, oh my God, I could always feel comfortable coming here. But don't forget also, is we work on monthly plans as well. So we have the ability of touching our patients on a monthly basis after they graduate. We have patients who've been with us for years. And keep in mind, they're not on medications. They're on our natural supplementation that we've developed, and most importantly, are on that coaching on a monthly basis. So they're able to maintain it. They've made it part of their lives.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit. And if more people understood that, keep in mind, for instance, you go to the gym on a regular basis to stay in shape, right? If you never went to the gym, what's going to happen?
I blow out.
Yeah. So let's just say, for instance, you went to the gym and you don't have the mental stability and the focus to be able to, push yourself through. But once a month, you sat down with the trainer who helped you originally. They're going to regenerate you. And maybe that's all you need. Maybe it is once a month, or maybe it's every other week. It really depends on each individual on what they possibly need and what they need to move forward. And that's all we can give them. We have to give them the support. And that's the thing, is they're not doing this alone. And we talked about that before. You and I had mentioned that, building this franchise and understand that so many of your family members and so forth, people try to sabotage you. And that's why it's great to have a coach in your corner. You know, we have, you know, individuals who walk in, like teachers, for instance, and they said this is the best part of their week because we are so positive when they walk in the door. Because keep in mind, when you're doing something you love, we're not hurting people, we're helping them. So there's zero reason for us not to be positive on a regular basis. And that's another reason. I mean, all honesty, if you had to pick a business where every single day you're consistently smiling and excited to go into work this is what we do.